just because you don't get the jokes doesn't mean that the jokes aren't there. Hello, Cat the Controversy here, and one TV show that I really enjoyed back in my high school days was a Nickelodeon cartoon called The Mighty Bee. It was just a fun little cartoon about this girl that wants to get all the badges in the Bee Scouts, and it's just a funny little slice of life cartoon. But there's this one episode in particular that really made me laugh that I really enjoyed, even as a dumb 14-year-old that didn't really know anything. And that was the episode Little Women, which is just a brilliant commentary and satire that pits the 1950s June Cleaver style woman against the 1960s, 1970s liberated woman feminist. And it's really quite funny, especially looking at now and just seeing the commentary that it has and the great satire. But there's one guy, AlphaJay, he did a review on it, and he didn't really like it, and he didn't get it, and that's where a lot of his problems are. And dude, don't take this personally. I enjoy your work, but just because you don't get the jokes doesn't mean that they're not there and they're not freaking hilarious.
I picked Little Woman because it really does not know what it wants to say. And no, I don't know why it's spelled that way.
Okay, so right off the bat, here is a really brilliant joke that you just don't get. So, what is woman? Why is it spelled Womyn? Well, that's a feminist thing. It's like second or third wave feminism where they're just like, oh, we are so independent and separated from men that we're not even going to have the word men or man in our title. No, we're not going to be Women or MAN. We are MYN. And it's not just a Tumblr thing. No, I've seen it used earnestly in flyers and whatnot around my old college campus for like their feminist clubs and whatnot. And yeah, it's cringy, it's silly, it's laughable, but it is a real thing, unfortunately. And why is it called Little Woman? Well, that's because it's a play on the title Little Woman, which is a very popular book. I don't really know what it's about, but I know that Little Woman is a classic piece of literature. And yeah, I don't think it ties in at all to this. And it's just meant to be a joke of, hey, look, it's a title that is a popular name, and we're going to do a reference to it just for the sake of doing a reference to it. But, the joke's there. It's actually pretty funny if you think about it.
The Little Lady Badge is awarded for excellence in the feminine arts. Each bee must acquire the following skills. Type 80 words per minute and or master dictation. Prepare a traditional English high tea. Arrange a bouquet 4 flowers minimum. Make a bed with perfect hospital corners.
Child's play.
Pardon my French, girls, but this is bananas. Whatever happened to self-expression, progress, keeping an open mind?
Oh boy, you do not know how much this is going to come back to haunt you. Let's begin. First, I understand her intentions. Those things, being under feminine arts, can be questionable. But basic computer skills and making a bed? What's wrong with that? Her anger is unwarranted, and she only read a few pages. There's thousands of badges across all types of hobbies. I would like to think that basic hygiene and flowers aren't insulting to the female race. Not only that, but you can express yourself through the skills being taught. But I digress.
Okay, so this is actually based off of the kind of marketable skills that women would have back in the 30s and 40s and whatnot. Because typing words per minute, this is not based off of computer skills and your ability to type code and whatnot. No, this is based on being a secretary for typewriting and taking dictations. And that's what that was about. As for the perfect 3 hospital corners making a bed thing, that's based off of being a nurse or being a maid. And being a secretary, being a nurse, and being a maid, those 3 jobs, as well as like maybe being a school teacher, those were like the only jobs that women could have, and they were considered women's work. And that's where the joke comes from. It's not based off of being a slob or being bad at computers. It's based on having a job and having skills that are marketable if you're trying to be a woman. That's if you were to be a man and say, oh, I can type this many words per minute, or I can make a bed with perfect hospital 3-point corners, you'd be laughed out of the interview, as you would be now unless you were actually applying to be a maid or a nurse. But now those are more gender neutral jobs. I mean, still technically they are largely dominated by women, but you do have men in them now, especially in some places where it's like cruise liners. I know the maids that I had when I went on a cruise, they were all men. But that's topic for a different time, but that's what the joke is. The joke is that these are skills that would be considered marketable for women's work. And Bessie's mom, being the liberated, free feminist that she is, she says that no, girls, there's more to life. You don't have to be that way. You don't have to just be a nurse or a maid or a secretary or a school teacher or a homemaker. You could be anything you want to be.
Then there's this scene, chucking the first art cliche, that it isn't self-expression unless you use your hair or random strokes. Bessie's mom confuses structure, work, and order for restrained creativity.
Well, this painting thing isn't necessarily based on feminism versus traditional gender roles. It is based off of the postmodern art philosophy that typically accompanies the feminist worldview and whatnot. And that's what Bessie's mom is. When she is talking about how Bessie is being restrained, she is going into the postmodern art philosophy of everything is art, including the Jackson Pollock paint rags. So, yeah, that's what she's trying to do. And it's the academic way of looking at it. It's the academic. And I've had academic feminists that follow the same art philosophy. And yeah, it is what it is. That's what she's doing. And if you want to get more into my thoughts on the whole postmodern art thing versus traditional actually trying to be good, watch my Mona Lisa Smile review, which check the link below. I'm going to link that.
Remember what I said about pushing a moral/message regardless of a character's principle or personality? Yeah. Enter art cliche number 2. Senseless poems because it's art.
Donut. Donut, donut, donut. Donut, donut. 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 Thank you.
I do understand that this happens. I also understand that cartoons are over the top. But they're over the top to be funny. And that wasn't funny. In fact, most of this episode isn't. So Bessie comes to the mic.
Miss Manners says when at a dinner party, if 2 hot plates are served, it is acceptable for guests to begin eating before the hostess is served.
Boring.
Well, here's the poem. I got a pot roast in the oven and you can't have any, you dum-dums. Stupid art. Who cares?
Quick survey, was anyone laughing at that? No? Then you see my point.
This is actually a joke on the Beatnik poetry scene that was frequented by the first and second wave feminists. So that's what you would get. And you see, what Penny is wearing is the typical outfit that you would associate with the Beatniks. And what she's doing is she's reciting poetry at an open mic night at a poetry club. And here's the thing. It's meant to be bad because when you go to an open mic, you tend to get some bad performances. You get people that are just going up there to have fun and they're trying, but they aren't necessarily good. But that's what happens when you get an open mic night. And why are they snapping? Well, that's what you would do when you go to poetry slams and whatnot. You would recite poetry, and then instead of clapping, you'd snap. So that's what they were doing. The reason that they were snapping for her horrible poetry is that, well, they're in the same boat as her, so they're kind of giving her pity snaps of, at least you're trying. And you could say the same sort of thing would happen with other sorts of feminist poetry, if you will. I know that there are things out there like the vagina monologues. I don't really know what those are, and I don't want to know what they are, but that's what they were doing. It's meant to be a joke at that. So why was Bessie get booed off the stage? Well, she didn't write a poem. She just was saying things to make fun of them. She was trying to be mean. She wasn't even trying. And that's why when Penny was doing it, she got pity snaps, whereas Bessie, she wasn't trying as much. And that's what happens. Even if you go to open mic nights and someone's really trying, you might give them a little pity lap or a pity clap, but someone just goes on and they're just like, yeah, I don't care about this. You all suck. You're going to boot them off stage. It's not pleasant. But that's what that joke is. It's what it is, and it's actually kind of pretty funny and pretty brilliant.
Wait a minute, don't you care? You were painting too. This episode has hypocrisy written all over it. Is Bessie expressing herself? Yes. Is she working towards her badge? Yes. Can you assume that every other honeybee reacted the same? Yes. So then how are they all different? The mother is going against her own words and her own daughter.
Actually, no. Bessie's not being a hypocrite at all, because it's just a different philosophy of art. Bessie is taking a philosophy based off of structure, a more classical design of art, whereas everyone else is taking a more free reign, raw creativity style to art, and it's another form of art. So yes, one could say that the other is not art, or whereas what they are doing is actually art, but it's kind of one of those things of, well, just watch my Mona Lisa Smile review for that.
Remember in my first animation review, The Sweaters, where I discussed how every single character except for the main character was going out of character? Apparently, Bessie isn't a human being with individual interests and will only be a human being with individual interests if she becomes another art cliche like her peers.
Ah, yes. You're not an individual unless you're exactly like me logical fallacy that you find with rebel cultures. Okay, so what am I talking about? Well, this is a logical fallacy that I see a lot when someone tries to make a counterculture. So when they make a counterculture, what they do is they want to reject the norms and social standards that are set out by society. And they want to tear down the institutions that have set this up and then rebuild culture and society in their own image. And then when they find someone that conforms to the old way of thinking, that conforms to the old cultural norms of the past, they come to them and say, like, no, you don't need to do this. I've destroyed those oppressors. You can now be free and do exactly what I'm doing. Be free and follow my philosophy. And then when that person says, no, I actually want to be like this, well, then they start coming down on them the exact same way that the man came down on the person that instituted the counterculture. And they're becoming exactly what they sought out to destroy. And it's a pretty common logical fallacy, and it goes into the horseshoe theory, where you got people that are on two diametrically opposed sides of the spectrum actually are much closer in reality and philosophy than what they initially thought.
Bessie, while looking for her mom, walks into the meeting room to see 4 extras meditating. Minions from League of Legends have more individuality than these characters. One of the honeybees tell Bessie that Hillary and the others are throwing their sashes into the sea.
Portia said that we should all throw our sashes into the sea because they're a patriarchal symbol of objectification or whatever. So everybody went down to the wharf with Hillary.
No!
Yes!
A. The sashes merely represent the achievements that you get in a club that you chose to join.
Hey, when it comes to third wave feminism, anything I don't like is patriarchal oppression.
B. You choose to represent your freedom by littering in the ocean.
B. This is actually a joke about the hippie women burning their bras back in the 60s, because apparently back in the 60s, bras were very uncomfortable and constricting. So they would burn them as a symbol of their being free and liberated. However, the writers of The Mighty Bee didn't want to be too on the nose with it, so instead they're just throwing them in the ocean.
C. And Hillary's okay with this?
C. It was probably actually Hillary's idea to do something with the sashes.
D. Then why are these 4 extras in their sashes still? The least you could have done is give your sashes to the honeybees that were going over to the ocean.
D. You got me there. It really is just lazy character designs.
And lastly, this is not Hillary's group. I have a question. What if this actually was successful? What if she went through with this? You break up the group, Bessie might get the blame for recruiting her mom, and she's out of the group being the most passionate one about it. That's sad.
E. there is a perception of feminists going into something that isn't theirs and trying to destroy it from the inside because they don't like it, such as video games. Anita. So, yeah, even if they were successful, it would still be a feminist win, even though everyone else is more miserable because of it.
Sashes have been, like, oppressing women for ages, and I, for one, will not continue to be strangled by mine.
No! Propaganda much? This is why the masses are referred to as sheep. I would elaborate on the oppression on women, but that would just get me more irritated.
When Portia's talking about it being a symbol of oppression, just see B a couple minutes ago, where, it's a joke about hippie women and 1960s bras. This is also a joke about the student taking the teachings of the teacher way too far. This is something that we're actually kind of seeing right now on U.S. college campuses, where you got the progressive liberal professors teaching students about microaggressions and all that kind of nonsense. And now you got the professors getting called out and fired by their students because of the professors' own microaggressions. So, yeah, it's a pretty brilliant concept and pretty brilliant satire if you think about it.
What about my individuality? Being a honeybee is my whole thing.
Okay, I get that.
Do you, Hillary?
I just wanted you to have fun.
No, you don't. When did you do that? All you have done is oppress your daughter for being prideful in her group. You were hypocritical turned to 11, with the knob torn off. Despite her intentions well, her delivery was malicious and downright hypocritical. When did it seem that Bessie was not having fun?
Yes. The Bessie lashes out at Hillary's scene, to which Hillary says, "I just wanted you to have fun." I love this scene. It is brilliant because it just hits right home at the problem with the "my way is the right way." I can't imagine anyone wanting to be subjected to this oppression and oppressive ideas mentality that some people have. And it's just so brilliant because to one person, what's their hell is another person's heaven. And this really hits home to me because when I saw this episode, it was back when I was in high school. And back when I was in high school, this is when like the militant YouTube atheism was at its peak. These are the guys that are just like, oh man, there's no evidence for God or religion. And look at all the horrible things that religion has done over the years and centuries and decades and millennia. So, you know what? It's horrible. We just got to do everything we can to wipe religion off the face of the earth. And yeah, pretty dark times, and they just couldn't comprehend why someone would want to believe in God. And occasionally you'd get someone that'd just be like, okay, maybe this doesn't exist, but you know what? Religion has helped me a lot. It's really helped me through some dark times and hard times, and it made me the person that I am today. Why can't you just accept this? And then the militant atheist response would basically be, I just want you to be happy, dude. And they just couldn't comprehend that, okay, maybe they had a bad experience with religion, but that doesn't mean that everyone has a bad experience with religion. And that's what this scene is that Hillary, she maybe has some bad experiences with the traditional gender norms and what a lady should be. And she sees that as being kind of detrimental to the girls. But when one of the girls, her daughter, says, you know what, I want to do this. This is who I want to be. She just can't comprehend that. And that's what this entire scene is about. And it's really powerful and really smart.
And then there's this part.
A honeybee must never be so rigid as to dismiss the ideas of others. To a honeybee, the world is a flower, blossoming in anticipation of cross-pollination from all manner of bees and their uniquely special characteristics. It is this uniqueness that allows us to come together as a perfect swarm.
Join the fun, sweetie.
Thanks, but no thanks, Mom.
Thank you, sweetie.
Sashes have been, like, oppressing women for ages, and I, for one, will not continue to be strangled by mine. Right, Hillary?
I think what Portia means to say is the sash represents being part of a group, and the girls want to express their individuality.
See what I did there?
Bugs?
Heavens no! We have so much to do. Hey, what it is, sisters? Oh, thank goodness! You're 4 minutes and 43 seconds late.
That clearly wasn't 4 minutes. Bessie comes in as her opposite self as well, but I'm nitpicking.
I'll give you this. The ending was too rushed, and they should have flushed out the resolution in more than just 3 minutes. But, the point still remains. Both sides realized the humanity in the other's perspective and realized that they just can't swing the pendulum too far in one direction without becoming exactly that which they sought out to destroy. Hillary imposed her views and beliefs on the girls in order to try to breed individualism. Only all she ended up doing was breeding conformity in the completely opposite direction, and then she learned the merit of Bessie's side. Bessie, on the other hand, she was too strict and too by the numbers, by the books, by the rules, that she completely forgot what it meant to be a honeybee, which is the shared interests and common goals of girls to try to work together to become friends. And both of them went way too overboard in order to make their realization. So, yeah.
What is this episode trying to say? It clearly wasn't a joke-centered episode. Another thing I don't like is that it portrays women as one or the other. But there's many kinds of people on all sides of the spectrum. It makes the one truly expressing herself and accomplishing set goals the antagonist. I think this could be a metaphor or parody, but do you really care? Because I sure don't.
Well, I sure care about it because I thought it was pretty good. Very, very entertaining. And that's what the series is trying to get across. That's what this episode is trying to get across. It's trying to get across that there are basically two portrayals of women, and they could either be the June Cleaver or the hippie feminist. And neither of them is actually the correct way to go. There's all sorts of different ways that you could go in between, and they all have merit, and there's good to both sides. And that's what it's trying to get across. And I think it did in a pretty good way. And okay, so maybe you don't know all the same things that I do. Maybe you don't know about all the different feminist theories and all sorts of different feminist critiques and whatnot, and all the different politics and satire that goes into this episode, and all the very subtle jokes that you just don't get if you don't know all that. But just because you don't get the joke doesn't mean that the episode is bad. All right, well, this has been Cat the Controversy signing off, and Cat the Controversy, before you go, I got something really important I gotta say. Okay, look, Pokematic, I'm almost done. You interrupted me while I was doing my sign off, so once I do the sign off, you can have the webcam. Oh, no. You see, this is about the video that you just made, and while I really, really, really appreciate your ability to defend our favorite episode of The Mighty Bee, I do have a couple of things that I gotta point out. So, first question, what is your main criticism of AlphaJay's video and critique of this episode? What, you mean that just because he doesn't understand the jokes and the commentary and the satire of this episode, that it doesn't make it a bad episode? And what is our main criticism of lit analysis class that we even went into recently in our review of Mona Lisa Smile? Oh, you mean how those books didn't stand on their own and we had to do all this research and whatnot in order to know what the books were talking about? That's right. You are now the institution that you sought to destroy! There's a lesson in this somewhere. I don't know what it is, but it's bound to be in here. I don't know what more to say. This has been Catholic Controversy signing off, and may God bless you. Pokemon, make us an end card addressing this. I'm done. Oh, cool, I get to do the end card. So, hey there, everyone, welcome to the end card. And yeah, don't click away just yet. I got more things to say because I do the end cards a little bit differently. Instead of just telling everyone to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe, I go into a little bit of extra detail. So, big thing with this one is that, yes, I do really love this episode. It's a really, really great episode, and it gives amazing, brilliant satire and comedy and commentary from a source that you just wouldn't expect. The Mighty Bee is a very sort of iffy cartoon. I mean, I love it because it's a cartoon and Nickelodeon, and it reminded me a lot of the cartoons that I used to kind of watch as a kid. So I really like The Mighty Bee, and the fact that they did this episode that was a critique of everything that I was being basically force fed back in high school, it was absolutely brilliant, and I love it. But I do get where AlphaJay is coming from because it is something where the jokes don't work unless you know about what they're joking about. It's not like with South Park, where if they were to have like what they're doing with President Garrison, where yeah, Mr. Garrison, he's running for president, and it's obviously a joke about Donald Trump running for president. However, if you don't realize that, it's also funny because he's a crazy teacher that is running for president and somehow becomes president. So yeah, it's one of those jokes where even if you don't know what's going on with Donald Trump and whatnot, it's still going to be funny from years to come. So, yeah, there's that. And that's where this episode falls because it's not all that funny if you don't know what the jokes are, if you don't know what they're trying to satirize and what they're making fun of. Yeah, it's something that a lot of people get subjected to, and it really works if you're a teenager and a little bit more right of center. But yeah, I recommend this episode just on the status of it being a funny episode that does really, really great political commentary. But if you really don't get politics and you don't know all the politics and whatnot, then yeah, you're not going to get this joke. And I also got to give AlphaJay a little bit of leeway because this was his third episode in the AlphaJay show, and everyone stumbles when they're starting out. I stumbled when I started out. It's just how it does. You don't know everything that you're doing. You're still trying to figure out how to do this. So I gotta give him that. And again, Alpha, I mean no disrespect by this. Neither me, Pokematic, or the other character, Catholic Controversy, dude, we enjoy your content. We like what you say, but again, just to say that this episode fails because there's no humor or whatever, there's no jokes. There are jokes there, but you just don't get them because you need to have some academic understanding to get them. And I guess you could say that for a lot of the books that we read back in English class. Some of them more than others. Some of them they're just plain bad. But I've suppressed those memories so far that I barely remember them. You asked me what books we read back in high school. Catcher in the Rye, Great Gatsby, and A Streetcar Named Desire. Those are basically the only ones that I remember. And I know that we read a lot more than that. But again, because it was just such a bad time in my life, I've just pushed it away, pushed those memories away, and whatever. And it does seem like the school board and curriculum learned that those books were bad because when I went back to try to read the syllabi of my old teachers, they weren't teaching those books anymore. They were teaching a lot of books. I'm just like, I didn't get to read that. I didn't get to read that. I didn't get to read that. I heard that that was a classic. I heard that that was pretty good. Why didn't we read those? But yeah, that's the past. Let it die. So, end card thingamabob. So, of course, the related video is going to be our Mona Lisa Smile review. That was the video that it really kind of all came back to us, and it's sort of a collab between both of us because you do get a lot of the Catholic controversy serious side analysis of all that, and you also get the fun Pokematic side of me just making fun of the movie and doing a "You are now the institution that you sought to destroy," which is a reference to that. That was the first time I did that. And I don't know, maybe I might make that a running gag if this ends up happening. A really great thing for me to do when I get someone being hypocritical and doing exactly what they said out to stop. So yeah, that might be a bit of a mainstay. But yeah, Mona Lisa Smile review. Very proud of that review. Definitely check it out. And if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, up, buzz, or whatever you need to do to show your love. And if you want to see more from either of us, consider subscribing. Depending on where you're on, you might get more Pokemon stuff, or you might get more Catholic controversy stuff. All depends. But Now, if you want to help us support the show and help us continue to make content, consider subscribing on Patreon, where for just $1 a month, you can get your name up there in that little Patreon credit section. But I fully understand if Patreon's not your thing, which is why I also have a Bitcoin Faucet Rotator, where you can get free Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and Dashcoin while at the same time help support the show. And be sure to check out our website. I know I'm going to be linking the Mona Lisa Smile review with the website, but again, I've got 9 years of content on there, all sorts of different content. A lot of stuff that you just can't find on any of our video platforms because they're text blogs. So be sure to check that out too. And all right, so I'll catch you guys later. Bye.